everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today, wow, have I been wanting to put together this list for some time. We're going to be looking at 10 great comic books set in space. This is a prompt I've been toying with in my mind and on my notepad for some time, and I'm so happy to finally present it to all of you. This is by no means an exhaustive list of great spacefaring comic book storytelling, but just a handful of favorites of mine or those that I've been reading recently that I'd just like to share with all of you. I thought that this would be fun to mix it up a little bit, and I hope you enjoy. Before we dive in though, I'd just like to shout out the channel sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, perhaps even some that were featured in this video, I'd always encourage you to check out their website. You can find a link for it in this video's description, and if you see anything there you like, you can actually use my discount code at checkout, TheComicBookReport, to save $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a fantastic way to support this channel. Thank you for considering. Now let's get started with today's comic book list. Kicking off this list today in no particular order, we have Superman, the Warworld Saga by Philip Kennedy Johnson over at DC Comics. Now this is a very big, standard size paperback edition. I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't call this a compendium because it's around that size. But this is a really fun collection of this epically scoped interstellar storyline here for our favorite Big Blue Superman. I also wanted to showcase this because I believe this is collected amongst some other issues for an upcoming Superman by Philip Kennedy Johnson Omnibus, so if this story sounds intriguing and you've yet to pick up this paperback, well, perhaps that forthcoming omnibus may be for you. But what is Superman the Warworld Saga? Essentially, it's Superman going to another planet where he's kind of subjected to kind of a gladiatorial arena imprisonment kind of storyline. This is something I've heard about or seen in other storytelling, of course, like the film Gladiator or what I've heard about Planet Hulk, for example. So this is well-trod ground, and yet to see Superman in this context, it just really works. He's fighting for his life against this devious despot on this gladiatorial planet, Mongol, and yeah, it's just really rich narratively. The character development is fantastic, and we get to see Superman outside of his element. For most of this book, he is depowered, but we still get to see who he is as a hero, down to his personality really shine through, and I think that that's really what sets this storyline apart. I am still finishing out the back portion of this collection, but I have loved the journey so far. I like it so much that I am considering upgrading to the Philip Kennedy Johnson Omnibus once that gets released. We'll see what happens, but so far I have really enjoyed it, as I said, and I think it's a great example of modern space-set comic book adventure. Don't miss out on Superman the Warworld Saga. Next up today is a book I've talked about a few times on the channel. This is Descender by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen from Image Comics. And this is the Volume 1 trade paperback, 10 stars. This is a first volume of, I believe, a 6-volume trade paperback run, not including the sequel series Ascender, which went for a handful more. This has also been collected across 2 oversized deluxe editions, or 3 if you want to include Ascender. And I think they actually just released a Descender kind of compendium or paperback collection, so this is a really great time to start picking up Descender. But what is this story about? It's set in a future where robotics have kind of turned on humanity. There was a horrible incident at the hands of robots that really was detrimental to humanity, to the point where a lot of robotics are outlawed and are seen really frowned upon, to say the least. Our main character is a robotic young child who's trying to find his way back to his family or his purpose. We have kind of a ragtag group of spacefaring heroes, I guess we'll call them, and they're really trying to solve the mystery of what happened during this incident years ago, trying to kind of venture forth, and we just have a really intensive character study here. This is pure sci-fi greatness. Jeff Lemire is one of the premier comic book writers of our time. I'll just say that. I'm a huge fan of Lemire. This was my introduction to the art from Dustin Nguyen, which here we have this kind of trademark watercolor style. I wasn't sure at first if I enjoyed this style personally, but after reading this collection, I found myself falling in love with it. I actually really love when this team paired up again for Robin and Batman over from DC Comics, another fantastic read. But when I think of great kind of space set sci-fi, this book is definitely very high on my list. Don't miss out on Descender by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen from Image Comics, a really great modern sci-fi adventure. Next on our list today is actually a recent read for me. This is Flash Gordon Volume 1 Escape from Planet Death from Mad Cave Studios. This is an incredible book that collects a 0 issue in the first 5 issues of an ongoing series written by Jeremy Adams. This is one of the first titles I've read from Mad Cave, and wow, was this such a blast. I, like so many, am of course culturally aware of Flash Gordon, a character that's been around in some form for going on a century, and this was one of my first exposures to the character, admittedly, and I had no problem jumping right into it. I knew very little about Flash Gordon. I know he's kind of a pulp sci-fi hero who is always fighting for right against Ming the Merciless, and surely we have those characters appear in this trade paperback, but we have much more than that. We have Flash Gordon outside of his element, trying to survive, escape a prison, find his friends, and generally be a hero. This was kind of a fun space opera, really, at the core of it, and it just really works on all fronts for me. I also felt the writing was so entertaining, engaging, and fun that it has me looking for more recommendations for Jeremy Adams, so if you have any of those, sound off in the comments. One of the reasons I thought I'd recommend this book as well is because, to my knowledge, this is still an ongoing title over at Mad Cave, so if you want to get early into or on the ground floor of a still ongoing book, and you like space opera, kind of epic sci-fi adventures through space, this is definitely one to jump in on now. I really enjoyed this book. I'm not sure when I'm dropping this video, but if I haven't yet, I very soon will be doing a review of this collection, so if you want to see more details from me about this book, please stay tuned to the Comic Book Report. And hey, while we're talking about the channel, if you're enjoying this video and you've yet to subscribe to the channel, I would just like to invite you to do so. I'm always doing comic book list videos like this, reviews, unboxings, shorts, and more. Anyway, thank you for considering. Now let's keep this list right on going. Next up on this list, another trade paperback collection. This is Space Ghost, Volume 1 with Only Ghosts to Comfort Us by David Pepose and Jonathan Lau from Dynamite Entertainment. Now, this is a book that came across my radar, just kind of becoming more familiar with ongoing Dynamite titles. I actually had the opportunity to interview David not too long ago on the channel for those interested. He spoke about Space Ghost while also talking about his forthcoming Captain Planet series. I grew up remembering Space Ghost Coast to Coast and maybe glimpses of that original animated series from, I believe, Hanna-Barbera back in the day. This is definitely a figure in pop culture I was familiar with, and yet having a revamped kind of comic book origin for him, I was already super eager to re-experience this character, and wow, did this book really blow me away. I had an absolute blast returning to this world and seeing it beautifully illustrated by Lau. It just was larger than life. Another epic space fantasy adventure. We not only had the titular Space Ghost, who is a space superhero by all accounts, but we had his kind of child sidekicks, the twins, the boy and the girl, along with their pet monkey, and it might sound silly, but there's a lot of really intense character drama here that is handled so deftly by these creators. It's really just something to see. This was a really fun and engaging trip through space, and I can't wait to read subsequent volumes. It absolutely gripped me, and like the Flash Gordon series from Mad Cave, this is still an ongoing title, so you can definitely start picking these up and catch up. I know that's what I hope to do, and so far, yeah, the series really hasn't disappointed. This was a book I read nearly cover to cover, and I was just grinning from ear to ear the whole time. Again, if you're a fan of kind of blockbuster action adventure that has a fun science fiction wrinkle, this is a series that might be for you. I think it's surprisingly character grounded, the art is gorgeous, and it's definitely one I'd recommend for this category. Okay, transitioning over to some hardcover collections, we have Silver Surfer by Dan Slott, Michael and Laura Allred Omnibus from Marvel Comics. This collects the entirety of their run of Silver Surfer, which was right around that Marvel Now era, but this is a really fun book for fans of space set storytelling for the most part. The spaceways, as we would say for Silver Surfer. Wow, was this book a real treat. Without spoiling too much, what we have here with Silver Surfer by Slott and the Allreds is kind of an interstellar love story and just kind of fantastical slice of life adventure story. I guess I really don't know how to distill it down because it's so much more than it even appears on the surface, and with the art from the incredible Allreds, that's really saying something. Their vibrant pop art aesthetic is absolutely lush and gorgeous on every page. In fact, setting them loose in this kind of gigantic universal sandbox was just a creative masterstroke. Dan Slott's writing has perhaps never been more touching, and I mean that in the most complimentary sense as a big Dan Slott fan. This book is really just something in and of itself. It is completely standalone. You don't need to know anything about this character or this world before picking up this book, although some knowledge of the history I guess could be helpful here and there, but largely Slott and the team really bring you up to speed on everything you need to know, and they play a little bit with the continuity of this character in ways that still really work for me. You break away from some of the more intensive, introspective, broody moments of this character, and you really bring out his kind of playfulness, which is a layer of this character I never knew I needed until seeing how he was handled in the hands of Slott and team. This is a run I think about quite often. In fact, it's on my short list of best Marvel comic runs of all time, and it's one I undoubtedly, as time allows, plan to revisit in the future, year after year, for time to come. Don't miss out on the incredible Silver Surfer by Dan Slott, Michael and Laura Allred. And speaking of this Sentinel of the Spaceways, let's do another Silver Surfer book. This is Silver Surfer Black by Donny Cates and Tradd Moore. This is a really modern Marvel miniseries that I have here in a standard size trade paperback format. I think it also got kind of a gallery edition, if I'm not mistaken, at one point, but this is certainly something to behold. I also think it might have been in the Donny Cates kind of Cosmic Marvel Omnibus, or whatever that one was called some time ago. Anyway, there's a lot of ways to pick this up, but this is a really fun and terrific small Silver Surfer miniseries. The art from Tradd Moore is absolutely a trip. It feels like you're in a lava lamp at some times, and believe it or not, I mean that in a very complimentary sense. There is something just really eye-popping about this style that works for the Silver Surfer universe. This miniseries treats us to a ringside seat of an Silver Surfer existential crisis, to say the least, as Silver Surfer kind of goes through or kind of deals with a black hole, events from his past, upcoming villains, and people from his past. This is a really, really fun cross-section of what makes the Silver Surfer such a great character. You pair that with, again, the incredible visuals provided by Tradd Moore, and you really have something here. Now, I have been a huge Donny Cates fan ever since I read him in the pages of Venom, and he just does not disappoint. Consistently, I find just great works from him, and this is no exception. Handling one of my favorite cosmic characters of all time, I didn't know what to expect here, but the longer that goes by, the more I think about this story. I keep coming back to it. I think it's a really terrific incarnation of this character, and at just 3 or 4 issues, it is a pretty zippy read. So if you're looking to read a fun Marvel space set miniseries, definitely consider Silver Surfer Black by Donny Cates and Tradd Moore. And can we even talk about Cosmic Marvel without bringing up the premier team, Guardians of the Galaxy? To showcase that team today, we're going to be looking at Guardians of the Galaxy by Brian Michael Bendis, Omnibus Volume 1. Now, I will say right from the jump, this was my first exposure to the comic book incarnation of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like perhaps many people out there, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU film Guardians of the Galaxy by James Gunn was my first exposure to this team of characters. I had no idea who they were before I heard about this film, but after watching it and really enjoying that movie, I found myself wanting to go back and explore this team, and I find that it has a really unique comic book history. We have had so many takes on this team, a revolving roster, and really different flavors for what this team is. I will say that this book book in many ways bears the most similarity to the on-screen counterparts, so if like me you're trying to find a way to edge into this franchise, this run by Bendis might be up your alley. I do think we still need a volume 2 for this omnibus, so hopefully Marvel can solicit one sometime in the future, but even with what we have here in this collection, wow, what a treat. Bendis really channels that kind of commercially successful blockbuster action feel for this run here, and I was here for it on every page. We have film memorable characters like Drax the Destroyer, Rocket Raccoon, Gamora, Peter Quill the Star-Lord, and Groot. But that roster is not complete. We have a couple other notable appearances like Iron Man, Captain Marvel, Agent Venom, and many more. This was such a fun run that I think a lot of people overlook, and yet I really am a fan of it. I know there are arguably better Guardians of the Galaxy runs out there, but I think in many ways this is the most accessible run. I love the space adventures we get with this team of heroes. I think it's a fantastic team book, and at the end of the day, it's just a lot of fun. Full stop, pure and simple, and to that end, please don't miss out on a chance to check out Guardians of the Galaxy by Bendis. Okay, next up is a personal favorite of mine, and for longtime viewers of the channel, you might be asking, can I do a single video without bringing this book up? Well, I don't know. But we're going to be talking about Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King and Bilquis from DC Comics. This is a standalone kind of mini maxi series from DC that came out a number of years ago. They released a trade paperback, and I have here the deluxe edition oversized hardcover, which is my preferred format to see the breathtaking art from Evley here. This book is a really fun coming-of-age sci-fi spacefaring adventure that pits a young adolescent woman who has just lost her father at the hands of a murderer. She pairs up with the powerful Supergirl to basically plot her revenge, find her father's killer, and enact her own sense of justice. Along the way, she is in many ways transformed by the influence of Supergirl, who herself is kind of going through things at her own crossroads of life. We have a really fun trip through the stars, and I cannot remember the last time I had this much fun, or fun in this way enjoying a story. This is a book I read a couple years ago, and it was my pick for favorite book of the year, and now seeing in deluxe edition, it's just even more breathtaking. This is also a great example of a book you don't need to know anything to pick up and enjoy. It's a standalone graphic novel at this point when it's collected, and it's just really accessible to just any audience out there. While I like Supergirl, I know very little about that character, and I found that that was not really relevant to enjoying this book, and that's absolutely to the strength of these creators and everything they were able to instill in this work. Seeing all these amazing kind of alien cultures and worlds, and even just trips through space. It's really an eye-popping joy we have here in this story. It's intensely character-driven, and the writing from Tom King is lyrical to the point where it feels almost like poetry without being monotonous, and I love every page. You know, if we're talking about space set comic books, I couldn't avoid bringing up Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Alrighty then, and now back to the world of Marvel Omnibus editions. Today we're looking at the Annihilation Omnibus from Marvel. Now this is considered the beginning of the modern Marvel Cosmic Saga. What do I mean by that? There are 5 omnibus editions that collect the entirety of this storyline. We have this one here, the sequel series Annihilation Conquest, followed by, I think, Road to War of Kings. We have War of Kings, and then War of Realms or Realm of Kings? Realm of Kings, I think. I don't know. I mixed up a couple events here. At any rate, these omnibuses are not all currently in print, but I do think they are reprinting this Annihilation Omnibus, so this is a great way to get on the ground floor of a cosmic Marvel story to just, wow, never forget. This is also a great standalone story. It has a beginning, middle, and end, and it really is a treat for all cosmic Marvel fans out there. We have in this book a set of miniseries that all lead into the main titular event, Annihilation. Along the way, we have a couple other one-shots or tie-ins as well, but we have a really interesting spacefaring adventure where a lot of just kind of eclectic and ragtagged heroes or villains team up to stop this horde of just kind of evil that's destroying the universe. Another very novel thing about this run here is that it brought a lot of more obscure Marvel properties to the forefront. Some of the main characters we have here are Richard Rider's Nova, Ronan the Accuser, the Super Skrull, Silver Surfer, Drax the Destroyer, and that's just to name a few. I really love this book. This is one I reviewed on the channel a couple years back now, but I think about it often. And I think, like I said, we should be getting a reprint of this. I know they are reprinting Annihilation Conquest as well, which I really hope to pick up as budget allows, as I would really enjoy the opportunity to continue on in this cosmic saga. This is debatably one of Marvel's best space set stories of all time, and one, again, I just think about often. It's a fantastic read that I don't think you need to know a ton about the Marvel Universe to thoroughly enjoy. Okay, and to round out our list today for 10 great comic books set in space, we have Star Wars by Jason Aaron. And I have the Omnibus edition here from Marvel Comics. I do think at the time of the recording, this omnibus is out of print, but you can find this series in secondary markets or in different formats, of course. But to me, this is a great example of a space set comic book series. Granted, it is a licensed property. For fans of the Star Wars film franchise or media franchise in general, I do consider this kind of must-read material. For those that don't know, these stories are set largely between the events of Star Wars A New Hope, Episode 4, and Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, Episode 5. Why I enjoyed this run so much, other than the incredible writing of Jason Aaron and the gorgeous art from a handful of other artistic creators, is the fact that these stories feel like the deleted scenes you never got to see before those movies. The creators absolutely captured the voices and in many cases likenesses of these characters in a way I just find astounding. A lot of these stories are great in and of themselves, but as a longer term Star Wars fan, primarily as well of that original trilogy, this is really just such a fun world to explore. I loved all these little wrinkles, and in my mind, pretending like these are just adventures we never got to see on screen. This was kind of a wish fulfillment, fun, just playground for me. This was a book that was honestly hard to put down, and one of the earliest examples of Star Wars comics I had the opportunity to read. I know Star Wars has a pretty prestigious history in comic books, honestly, but I would put this on the short list of the best of all time. A really fun one that I think is considered Disney canon. I don't know, that's always kind of an interesting term that I see thrown around, but at any rate, a really fantastic and terrific series, and if you like space opera, high-flying, sci-fi adventure, this is a perfect run to pick up and enjoy in this comic book format. Okay, and with that, we're going to begin to bring this video to a close. This has been 10 great comic books set in space. This was on my personal list of videos I've been wanting to produce for the channel for some time. I've had this list evolve, grow, shrink, change over the months, and I cannot believe I finally got it to YouTube. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know I had so much fun putting this together, brainstorming it, and talking about these great books. If you're a fan of any of them, I'd love to hear your discussions in the comments. But I'd also love to hear what are some of your favorite comic book series or storylines that are set in space that you can recommend. Again, I had so much fun with this prompt, and I hope you did as well. I am a huge fan of science fiction, and I really can't wait to hear some of your recommendations. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, this has been The Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to give this video a like, that comment we talked about, and maybe share this video with a friend. Thanks everyone, bye.